Imagine a sacred place, a Catholic school, hiding a secret so vile it would take 27 years to unearth. In 1978, two inseparable friends, Jessica and Maria, walked out of their Seville school and vanished. Their backpacks abandoned, their lives stolen. For nearly 3 decades, their disappearance was a haunting mystery, until a routine renovation unearthed a horrifying tunnel beneath the altar. What lay within would expose a monster and reveal a truth more unthinkable than any nightmare. Prepare yourself for a real-life horror story that will shake you to your core. Before we begin, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories. Introduction. March 15, 1978, Seville, Spain. 15-year-old best friends Jessica Morales and Maria Gonzalez left their Catholic school like any other day, but they never made it home. Their backpacks, abandoned in the schoolyard, hinted at a sudden, terrifying flight. For 27 agonizing years, authorities were tormented by the case, following hundreds of leads that led nowhere. Their parents aged, consumed by the search. The community lived in fear, the truth buried deep. But in 2005, a simple renovation project at the school uncovered a secret tunnel beneath the sacred altar, revealing a horror that defied imagination. The Vanishing Act. Jessica Morales, an orphan since age 8, found refuge and education at Santa Maria de la Esperanza Catholic School. Maria Gonzalez, from a traditional civilian family, was her inseparable friend. Both were devout students. 6 months prior, Father Pedro Ruiz, a 53-year-old priest with undiagnosed mental issues, arrived as a visiting chaplain. His erratic behavior raised concerns, but they were dismissed by the ecclesiastical hierarchy. On March 15, 1978, after afternoon classes, Jessica and Maria disappeared without a trace. Their abandoned backpacks and scattered books in the main courtyard fueled panic. The school and local community immediately launched frantic searches. Father Pedro was questioned early on, but his alibi seemed solid, placing him in the confessional until after the girls were last seen. Days bled into weeks, and the official investigation slowly went cold. Despite following every lead, no concrete evidence emerged. While the city mourned their loss, a reality more nightmarish than anyone could conceive was unfolding just meters beneath their feet. The priest's dark secret. Unbeknownst to anyone, Father Pedro Ruiz had meticulously constructed a secret tunnel beneath the school. Leveraging his knowledge of religious architecture and privileged access, he spent months carving out a 20-meter passage from the basement to the main chapel's altar. He worked during the early morning hours when the school was empty, justifying his nocturnal presence as prolonged meditation. The excavated earth was cunningly spread in the garden, disguised among the flower beds. The tunnel's entrance was hidden behind a false wall in the basement, masked by shelves of old religious books. The exit was directly under the main altar, ingeniously camouflaged by marble slabs that could be lifted from below using a pulley system. This subterranean space became a perfect, sound-absorbing prison, years in the dark. It was in this hidden hell that Jessica and Maria were held captive for years. Father Pedro visited regularly, providing basic food but subjecting them to systematic physical and psychological abuse. Metal chains, designed for limited movement but not escape, became their permanent shackles, leaving deep, permanent marks on their bones. The constant humidity rusted the chains, yet they remained unbreakable. Pedro meticulously maintained their weakness through chronic malnutrition, preventing any significant resistance. He constantly reminded them that they were forgotten by the outside world. Jessica, showing extraordinary resilience, created elaborate mental stories of rescue, while Maria clung to childhood songs and family memories. But the perpetual darkness and inadequate diet severely impacted their health, stunting their growth and wilting their adolescent bodies. Years of unspeakable suffering. Years crawled by in the suffocating darkness of the underground tunnel. Jessica and Maria, once vibrant teenagers full of dreams, withered into prisoners of an unimaginable hell. Father Pedro had perfected his control, feeding them just enough to survive but keeping them in a constant state of weakness to prevent resistance. His daily visits, always in the early morning, brought systematic abuse and relentless psychological torment. He constantly reminded them that they were forgotten, abandoned by the outside world. The chains, designed for limited movement, left permanent, deep grooves in their bones. Despite the horror, Jessica, drawing on her strength from early orphanhood, developed psychological survival mechanisms, creating elaborate mental stories of eventual rescue. Maria clung to memories of her family, silently reciting her mother's songs. But the constant isolation, lack of sunlight, and inadequate diet severely impacted their health, leading to severe vitamin deficiencies and developmental problems. Their adolescent bodies, meant to flourish, withered in the tunnel's perpetual darkness, a tragic end and a monster's deception. While the girls suffered below, life in Seville continued. The school resumed normal activities, a somber plaque honoring the missing students. Antonio Gonzalez, Maria's father, aged prematurely, his search for his daughter becoming his sole purpose. Aunt Carmen, Jessica's great-aunt, now in her 70s, maintained Jessica's room, her unwavering faith sustaining her until her death in 1998, a broken heart. In 1985, after 7 years of captivity, the girls reached their limit. Chronic malnutrition, unsanitary conditions, and constant trauma proved too much. Jessica succumbed first during a cold February night. Maria, her companion in suffering, endured the added horror of witnessing her best friend's death. Her spirit, utterly broken, faded over the next few months. In August 1985, Maria also died. Father Pedro, experiencing a moment of panic at Jessica's death, decided to continue his sinister routine. He removed Jessica's body but kept Maria captive. Upon Maria's death, his disturbed mind rationalized keeping both bodies in his private sanctuary, where the chains became macabre decorations on his underground altar. Decades passed, with Pedro maintaining his respected public persona, unknowingly guarding their horrifying secret. A secret uncovered, decades passed, the fate of Jessica and Maria fading into a chilling urban legend in Seville. Father Pedro continued his ministry, revered for his devotion, though some colleagues noted his growing reclusiveness and obsessive protection of the basement and altar areas. Antonio Gonzalez, Maria's father, now in his 60s, clung to a theory of human trafficking, finding solace in the slim hope his daughter might still be alive. Aunt Carmen passed away in 1998, her prayers for Jessica unending. In 2005, the school began a major renovation, including the historic chapel. This news terrified Father Pedro, who frantically tried to divert construction crews from the basement. His growing nervousness was noted. On August 15, 2005, exactly 27 years after the disappearance, workers excavating near the altar discovered irregularities in the floor. Their initial surprise turned to horror as their flashlights illuminated a hidden tunnel, revealing 2 skeletons still bound by rusted chains. The truth revealed. The discovery sent shockwaves through Seville. Police immediately cordoned off the school, launching a full forensic investigation. Initial analysis confirmed the remains belonged to 2 young women who died around 20 years prior, showing severe malnutrition, healed fractures, and clear signs of prolonged physical abuse and captivity. Antonio Gonzalez, at 67, received the news with devastating relief, his grief quickly turning to cold, calculated rage. He knew the perpetrator was still alive and vowed to find them. Father Pedro, upon hearing the news, had a nervous collapse and tried to flee, raising immediate suspicion. Antonio, however, refused to wait for slow legal processes, beginning his own relentless investigation to trace who had access to the basement and the knowledge to build such a tunnel. The truth, finally, was at hand. Justice, twisted and earned, Antonio Gonzalez's relentless personal investigation, leveraging his carpenter contacts, led him directly to Father Pedro Ruiz. Construction records, worker testimonies, and timelines unequivocally pointed to the priest. On September 3, 2005, Antonio tracked Pedro to a parish house on Seville's outskirts. Armed with his carpentry tools, Antonio confronted the priest. Faced with Antonio's paternal rage and undeniable evidence, Pedro confessed fully to his unspeakable crimes, detailing the years of captivity, systematic abuse, and the girls' slow deaths. Antonio recorded the confession. What followed was a chilling act of paternal justice that shocked Spain. Antonio subjected Pedro to the same torture Jessica and Maria had endured, using chains he had crafted for this precise purpose. Pedro's body was discovered 3 days later, recreating the victim's conditions, chained, isolated, with evidence of prolonged suffering. Antonio left the recorded confession and a detailed letter explaining his actions. A legacy of change. Antonio Gonzalez voluntarily surrendered to authorities. His trial became a national event, dividing public opinion between those who saw him as a hero and those who viewed him as a criminal. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison, but the verdict was met with massive public support. The story of Jessica, Maria, and Antonio's revenge became a symbol of the struggle between institutional justice and emotional justice. The case led to reforms in safety policies at religious educational institutions and set legal precedents for victims of institutional abuse. Today, a permanent memorial at the school honors Jessica and Maria, their story an eternal reminder to protect the vulnerable and ensure authority never eclipses moral responsibility. The tragic fate of Jessica and Maria, and the desperate justice sought by a heartbroken father, underscores a powerful truth. If you found this story impactful and wish to hear more like it, please subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss future investigations. Give this video a like to help us share more true crime stories. Thank you for watching, and until next time.